And I think we'll leave it just a couple of seconds when the video has started to check that we're sort of all good.
All right, I've got a notification saying it's live.
Yeah, I'll get it up watching on my phone actually, and silently.
Oh, perfect.
Are we live? Are we good? Are we live?
Yeah, it's on the Facebook
No, we
page
are live
now.
Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first JCR meeting of Easter term, which has arrived via Zoom. Not the way that any of us expected it, but it's happening, and I think it's going to be great. Take it away, Johnny.
Adds to the fun. Yeah, thank you for hopefully. I can see the number of people shooting up. Hopefully this is working on the Facebook page. If someone's watching on the Facebook page, can you just comment to say working, you can hear us and everything? That would be a great help.
Oh, I've got a lot of people watching. That's really good. Those are good numbers, but we just need a comment to check that it's working. Milo Stevens is
perfect.
Working.
Probably just lagging a bit. Yeah, so welcome to our first virtual JCR meeting. This is incredibly exciting. Never in a million years did I think when we were doing our handover, not just for me, but as I've been giving Ben over the past few weeks, that we'd be in a position to be hosting one through Zoom online on the Facebook page. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you to all the candidates who are running. For everyone who's watching, what's basically going to happen is when we go through the agenda which was sent out, in turn we'll be turning on the videos and the microphones of each of our candidates who are also in this call. They'll then give their speech, their host, and there'll be time for questions. You can use the Facebook comment section. We'll be checking and moderating that, or you can use the Google questionnaire form that Ben sent out earlier. Right. Without further ado, let's go through the agenda then. Minutes of the last meeting, as always, minutes are available on the JCR website. Thank you to Vice President Helen Patton for always doing these. No matters arising from the last meeting, except obviously the fact that this meeting is now online and is obviously occurring a lot later than we would have wanted to. It's obviously been a bit of a strange time to figure out how to proceed, but we wanted to basically start everything after exams to, well, give everyone the time to focus on that, and also just gave us a bit more time to prepare everything. JCR announcements. So we've got one announcement to go through. This is concerning the status of the role of head international representative. So this was a role that was elected last term in Epiphany. Over the course of the Easter holiday and throughout the end of last term, preparations were being made, obviously, to start induction week, sending out prep applications, etc. Since then, the role of head international representative has been vacated, so we were left in a bit of a tricky situation, sort of figuring out how to proceed with that, especially since a lot of the preparation work had already started. So basically, as a solution, the incoming JCR president and incoming senior freshers rep for next year have proposed a motion, and I'll let Joe, who's on the call, run you through that, basically to tell you what the sort of the plan to go ahead is. Obviously, voting for all of this stuff is going to go online immediately after the meeting. We'll post a link about that. But yeah, we'll introduce Joe now to walk you through what's happened and what this motion is aiming to do. So,
okay, I'm just going to ask Joe to unmute and turn his video on now, so we'll see how that goes. And just very briefly, as we're doing that, I'm just going to note that we are doing these trivia questions throughout the whole process. This was just a kind of added incentive, I guess, to get people to tune in. And you've got a chance to win a £5 voucher for either book tokens, iTunes, or Google Play at your choice. There'll be trivia questions that come up, and there'll be ones that I think people can guess, but also you're allowed to Google if you want. If you really can get there quick enough on Google, that's also fine. So have we got Joe Castledine now? Right. I can see that Joe's got his microphone on. Asked to start video as well. I don't know whether we've got him here. There we go. Okay.
You got me?
Yeah, here we go.
Right.
Can you hear me? Are we all good?
We're all good. We're all good. Okay,
Right.
take it away then, Joe.
Okay, perfect. This is a really, well, it's not simple. It's actually very complicated, but I'm going to try and explain it in the simplest way possible. It's going to be met with mixed opinions. That's natural. So any questions you'll have, bring them to me at the end in the questions section, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to answer them all because it's kind of an unknown situation. So basically the motion proposed is to instate the senior freshers rep for next year, which is Michaela Abs, and myself as the pres-elect for next year as interim head international reps over the summer and for the purposes of induction week. So this is a quick summary, as Jonathan's already said, of the events that have unfolded in the last couple of weeks. And it's a more immediate measure that we're proposing to take regarding the vacancy of the head international rep position. So the primary purpose of this motion is to ensure that the existing plans for International Induction Week in September are not jeopardized by this position being vacated in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, in an ideal world, the best alternative would be to immediately re-elect a new head international rep through a standard procedure. However, as we all know, after consideration of the planning position we are currently in for International Induction Week, as well as the ongoing uncertainty regarding COVID-19, I believe, and Michaela believes, that it's integral for this position to be temporarily filled in a way that's going to disrupt the progress that's already been made as little as possible. So essentially, there's a couple of reasons we want to do this, and we want to fill the role as an interim position for the summer and for induction week. So for the purposes of planning, we're already in advanced stages of planning for induction week, as well as building a team, as well as the weeks themselves. Therefore, to re-elect a new head international rep outright would affect this progress quite significantly, which is obviously going to be tough from a planning position. And then secondly, we recognise the fundamental importance of having a main point of call for international students, and we're not taking this option away. This is really important with this motion. Appointing us as interim head international reps for induction week is not taking away a support network for international students. It's essentially just putting us in the best position to run an international induction week with the planning we've already made. So just to summarize, crucially, it's for the purposes of induction week and the aspect of the head international rep, which is the position we're proposing to take over. The JCR is not losing an international support system. They're just gaining an interim position in the meantime, so we can continue with our planning.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Joe. We are now happy to take questions for that. I'm aware that there's a bit of a lag on the live stream, so we'll give it a moment to see if anything comes in. Again, if you're watching, please, we are checking the Facebook comment section, but try and make use of the Google Forms. That's a bit more direct and a bit easier for us to look at.
Okay, yeah, and I am monitoring both, so if questions start coming in, then I can read those out. Here's a question that's just come in, I suppose relates to this in the sense of the experience that international students might have, but also just a matter of general interest while the other questions are coming in. Have we had clarity from the university about when classes will be online, in short? So I appreciate that's not 100% related to the motion itself.
I mean, no decision has yet been made. So you'll have seen an email a couple of weeks ago that the university are planning for several different scenarios. There's a chance that all classes will go ahead as normal, in which case induction week will be standard as normal. However, there's also other possibilities, but I don't really have an accurate enough answer to that question for it to be useful for this.
Yeah. Okay, and we've not got any more questions coming in from Facebook, but I do just want to give it a minute, as I know that there can be quite a delay on the live stream. Apologies to those watching. There will be a couple of brief delays like this just while we wait for things to come in. I don't know how long we should wait though, in terms of the Facebook thing.
Yeah, have any come in on the Google form?
No, I mean the question that I just read was from the Google form, but other than that, we've not had.
Okay, that's all right. Obviously, bear in mind that if you do have any questions, especially regarding things around Michaelmas term, you can always contact college and contact people like Nuria and Joe individually after this meeting. We're aware that there's probably a lot of people that are watching this post stream as well. But
we have
Joe,
just had one question, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So that's submitted by Naomi Clark, and that is, will an international rep be elected by Freshers Week to aid with student welfare, or will that be more something done by international reps?
So the easiest way to understand this is the traditional position of senior international students rep is split into two halves, essentially. You have their role as head international rep for Freshers Week, and then you have their duties for the rest of the year. The aim is not to take away international support or welfare support from Freshers Week. We're simply proposing this motion for planning purposes. The plan, although this is still in discussion because this has been quite a last minute thing, is that although we're proposing for me and Michaela to take over the role of head international rep from an admin purpose, we'll still be looking to elect a senior international students rep. They will just not have the position of head international rep for Freshers Week. So there will still be a senior figure, a senior international figure for the welfare and support of international as well as home students. They just won't have the role of head international rep in Freshers Week because of the reasons I've already said. So for planning purposes and for convenience more than anything at the moment.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joe.
We've just had a comment saying that the delay on the stream is just over 1 minute. So can I encourage people for the next kind of few motions and husks coming up, if you've got a question for a particular group of people, a particular role, if you could ask that as the husk is still going on, and then we'll have the question for sure ready by the time the question's open, if that makes sense. But otherwise, I don't think we've had any more questions for the motion. Okay,
perfect. Let's move on then. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joe.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, right. So, Jonathan, I believe the next motion is yours.
All right, perfect. So moving on to the next item in the agenda, motion to accept the chair's updates to the standing orders. So as sort of a brief intro and insight into what mine and what next year Ben's job will be as chair, on top of sort of arranging all of these platforms that to, offer you to stand for positions, is running the constitution and basically overseeing the standing orders for our college, for our JCR rather. A lot of work has been done on the standing orders over the past sort of year and a half by my predecessor Sam and his predecessor Owen, and a lot of my sort of mantra has been to try and sort of implement that in practice rather than continue to sort of put a lot of detail and fine writing within the standing orders. That having been said, every year, obviously, we introduce a lot of new things, a lot of different scenarios crop up. That mean we need to sort of fine tune things, add in amendments, add in clauses, etc. In the email that was distributed by Nuria earlier today, there should have been an attachment with my proposed amendments to the standing orders based on what's gone down this year. If there are any STEM students out there, I wrote this in LaTeX because I was super bored post-exams and it was the only thing that I could think to do productively with my time. My amendments have been put in red. And just to run down briefly some of the major ones that have come up. So firstly, we're looking at Finance Committee in the section on JCR finances. Finance Committee was established last year. Last year was kind of like I guess sort of the trial year to sort of see what worked and what didn't. Now this year we've got a lot more, we've just got more of an idea of how things run, what the sort of the remit of the finance committee is, how it operates, and how it affects things like making JCR decisions on purchases and JCR levies and all of that. So there's a brief sort of subsection outlining what the finance committee does and what the procedure of the finance committee should be. This is obviously something that we're very proud to have introduced over the last few years and has been working well for the last 2 years even. On top of that, a big thing that has happened this year, we've had a lot of new roles and new committees introduced. So the ethnic minorities rep, for example, that was introduced sort of halfway through last year, and sort of the full term is what has been overseen this year. On top of that, we've also had the assistant toasty bar and shop manager and assistant bar steward, obviously with the expansion of the basement services and just the general love of all things that go on in the basement from everyone in college. That's been really helpful, and I know Louisa and Emily have been working really hard on that. We've also had the working class rep that was introduced last term. Again, it's fantastic to sort of see the extension of just representation that we're having in college. So all of these stuff are things that we've had to write into the standing orders to basically define all the different subsections and to define what each JCR exec role should do, and just the breadth of the different roles that we have. In terms of new committees and clubs, going to give a shout out to all of you. So hopefully if you're watching, Debating Society, Game Society, Vegan and Veggie Society, Poetry Society, Fine Arts and Craft, which comes under the Arts umbrella, Croquet Club and Esperanto Society have been set up this year. That's gone in the standing orders under all the JCR clubs. And then the Toasty Bar and Shop Committee and Basement Services Committee have been established under the committees section of the standing orders. Lastly, another thing that I just want to clarify, this is to do with voting within the JCR. Obviously, there's been a lot going on regarding voting in SU elections and uni-wide elections. So I just wanted to make this clear to everyone who's watching and who's reading the standing orders and who's just taking part in general JCR democracy. So any section on voting will be highlighted in red, just to run down what that entails. So in the JCR, our core rate is 20%. A couple of years ago, it was 25%, but in line with most elections across the university and JCRs, this was changed to 20% a couple of years ago, and it's what we've been working on. You'll see details on like the appointment and removal of officers under the single transferable voting system, which I published a document earlier on in the year about basically how to use the online platform. And yeah, essentially this was just something that I wanted to clarify, because I know there's been a lot of discussion about that. And I think I made a post as well last term about how voting is broken down in college. But if you are keen to sort of read a bit more about the fine print of it, that's there for you to see. So please do vote for this. Obviously, this has sort of been a large part of my job overseeing over the last year. But on top of that, it's really like a lot of the credit has to go to the exec members who've been running all of the positions. So each exec member will have added sort of various things to their role that they've introduced over the years. So things like Helen's Hot Chocolate Hour for the Vice President is now something that we're very proud to have in the standing orders. So a lot of the work in these standing orders has really been done by a lot of the JCR exec, as well as just general members of the JCR community, looking at the people who've been setting up roles, setting up clubs, setting up societies. And really what I've been doing is just sort of overseeing that and writing that in. So please do vote for it. Yeah, everyone's been working really hard for it. If you do have any questions about it, then I'm happy to take them now.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to wait about a minute to get any potential questions from the live stream chat on Facebook, and a reminder, you can also send them in via the Google form. And while we're waiting for questions, can I just remind Amber Field-Weber that the host for Assistant Bar Steward will be up next, so just to be ready to turn on your camera and microphone. Otherwise, we'll just wait for any potential questions. And in the meantime, I'll get the video host ready. So actually, there's something that we should probably inform people of, because for various reasons, some people worried about quality of their Wi-Fi, any other reasons, some people have chosen to send in a video host the normal kind of 3-minute host, and then will mostly be joining us after their video hosts to answer any questions live on the stream. And that's what will be happening up next, and for a few people. And I'm just going to quickly let Amy Harris into the call. Okay, looks like we've had no questions there.
Yeah. All right.
So just
Thank
very
you very
quickly
much.
before we move on, I'm going to read out the first of our trivia questions. So again, chance to win a £5 voucher. And this is whoever can comment the answer first in the chat. And I'm going to say only one prize per person over the whole thing, because I know we've got some quiz masters in the chat. Okay, so the first question is this. Which famous BBC and ITV broadcaster and co-host of Sports Personality of the Year studied law at Durham at undergraduate level? That's which famous BBC and ITV broadcaster and co-host of Sports Personality of the Year studied law at Durham? And with that, we're now going to move on. So I'll be watching the chat for the answers to that. Otherwise, we will get sorted for the host for assistant bar steward, and that is Amber Field-Webber. So I'll get the video host up now. So Johnny, if you could just give me a shout that that's working.
Yep.
Okay, is the video loaded?
Yes, I can see the video.
Okay, we are good to go then.
Naomi, I'm Amber, and I've just finished my first year studying maths here at Mary's, and I'd love to be the assistant bar steward for next year. Working at Mary's Bar has definitely been one of the highlights of my uni experience so far, and so I would absolutely love the opportunity to get more involved in the way that it operates. So why would I be good for the role? Firstly, I've worked in a pub since I was 16, so I definitely feel as if I have a solid knowledge and understanding as to how bars operate. Then working in Mary's Bar since November, including running a couple of solo shifts, it's given me the necessary confidence and experience which I would need if I were to be elected. Being organised is definitely one of my strengths too. If you know me, you'll know that I pride myself on managing my time, keeping on top of my deadlines and having to-do lists everywhere. Therefore, as assistant bar steward, I would be able to use these skills to help ensure that our stock levels are maintained, something which I'm sure is important to a lot of you. I also just really love Mary's Bar, and doing my shifts there has shown me how important the basement is to our college community, so I will always want the best for it. That being said, obviously you, as our customers, are the key to the success of the bar, so I'd always keep an open mind and be willing to listen to any suggestions as to how you think we can improve our operations. Now, what would I like to see happen if I was elected? Firstly, I think it's important to say that I would prioritise working cooperatively with Louisa as our bar steward, so that there is the greatest chance of any real change occurring. Therefore, building on her ideas for the future of the bar, I would keenly push for a more eco-friendly way of working, for example by promoting our reusable cups to a larger number of customers, in order to reduce the large number of single-use plastic pint glasses which get binned every shift. I'd also like to see a revival of the bar's social media, so that we can reach a wider Mary's audience and encourage more of you to give the bar a visit. In the spirit of the Toasty Bar team, this could include posts such as Meet the Staff or Instagram polls on the favourite Mary's pint, as well as any other way to increase our online presence. Another initiative which I'd like to see would be for the bar to work closer with a wider range of Mary charity groups and societies. The pub quizzes always prove popular in my experience, so I'd like to keep the bar open to hosting other forms of charity events beyond the quiz, to keep us linked up with the wider Mary's community. One last idea I have for the bar would be to set up a permanent drinks menu somewhere in the area, showing our full range of drinks and prices, just so that everyone is aware of all that the bar has to offer, rather than having to wait for the right slide to appear on the TV. Thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope that you agree that I am qualified for the role of assistant bar steward, and that you share my ideas for the future of Mary's Bar. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to now invite people to submit their questions and to ask Amber Field-Webber to join us live on the call to answer those questions. So I'm going to ask her to start video and then unmute. Okay, Amber, can I unmute you now? Are we good? Amazing. Welcome to the call. Hello. Right. So yeah, questions as always can come in via the Google form or the Facebook, and we've got a few that have been submitted in advance here. So the first question, how will you juggle the responsibility of the role alongside academic and social commitments?
Okay, well, first of all, I think I'd like to say that as assistant bar steward, it's not a massive commitment. I mean, obviously there's lots of work that needs to be doing, but it's not as much as the bar steward. But no, I mean, I'm very good at time management. I mean, as you can see on my book sheet, I've done quite a few different various commitments this year, and the way that my role would work as assistant bar steward is sort of like monthly checkups that you have to do on stock taking and bits like that. So regular sort of stints like that I think are quite easy to schedule in alongside my academic commitments. And also Mary's being so close to the science site and me being a STEM student, I'd be near Mary's as and when I'm needed. I think it would be quite easy to manage.
Okay, and another question from the Google form. Love the idea of a permanent drinks board in the bar. However, a couple of previous bar stewards have previously tried to do this. What would you be able to do to ensure that this actually goes ahead?
Well, I'd just keep pushing for it. So when we have our meetings with the bar committee, so with Mustafa and various other uni sort of officials, I'd just keep bringing it up, and I'm sure that Louisa would share my idea for that as well. And I guess the main thing we can do is just keep asking and put as much effort into it as possible. So I think it is a popular idea.
Okay, that's all the questions we've had so far from the online, the Google form. So unless there's any more questions coming in from Facebook.
Doesn't look like there are any comments on Facebook.
Okay, Amber, I think that's it then. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Amber.
Okay. Right.
Are we ready to move on to the next selection in the agenda then? So this one is going to be for working class representative. First up we have Chloe Sutton.
Yes, and Chloe Sutton has said that she will be hosting live on Zoom. So I'm just going to invite her to join us on the call now. Okay, Chloe.
Hi.
We can see you. Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
Yeah, so good.
Okay, amazing. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
So thank you very much for this. So hi everyone, I'm Chloe Sutton, if you don't know me already, and I would love to be your working class rep this year. So the box sheet, it really kind of scraped the surface of both kind of my dedication and suitability for the role, and honestly the endless list of ideas that are up my sleeve at the moment. So after a meeting last term with the JCR president, discussing what kind of role a working class rep would have, it was my kind of suggestions which pushed the motion forward in the end, and it was therefore only right that I ran for the role itself, because I am so kind of passionate about it. So my ideas have been in the pipeline since arriving at Durham, really, rather than simply in this last week when the roles were advertised. I've kept an extensive note about every kind of barrier I've personally faced as a working class student, as well as barriers I could have faced. So it's really been at the forefront of my mind for years, and because of this, I believe that I'm the best person for this role. So all of my energy and focus will be dedicated to this very role because it's just one of the most important things to me. So one of the first things really is to urge the college to be more transparent about their financial support to working class students, because it is there. But the reason that they don't make it as transparent as it could be is because they feel as though this will be abused. But a consequence of that is that it's not made as clear to those who actually need it, and this is going to change. So here's a kind of personal anecdote which I was a little bit hesitant to share, but I mean, if it's going to help other working class students, then it's really worth doing. So on the first day of freshers, my main concern was not making friends, which it should have been. It was kind of attempting to get a hold of a freshers wristband, and without a disposable £45 to spare for the wristband and the JCR fee, the gown, everything like that, although I'm very appreciative of Mary's offering this financial support to me, and obviously other students as well, they need to make it more transparent and advertise it clearly. And as a working class rep, I will ensure that that is done, because it just caused me so much anxiety thinking that I wouldn't be able to take part in Freshers Week or join any sports and societies because I didn't have this kind of money like readily available. But if the college had just made that known to me, then I shouldn't have to worry about that stuff, and my transition into university would have been a lot smoother. And the thing is that those kinds of experiences set the tone for the rest of university. So you've got all these questions like, will I be able to afford everything everyone else is doing? Why does everybody have like £1,000 laptops? I work at Bill's at Sadler Street. Why is no one else working part-time jobs? And with this, you start to feel excluded, and especially in kind of academic aspects of your degree as well, because you're missing the first 10 minutes of your lecture waiting for your old laptop to start up, or you're missing out on social events because you can't break your budget for that week to pay for a formal. You're missing out on joining sports clubs because you can't afford the membership. So if I'm elected, then working class students in Mary's are going to be made both aware of the financial support in place, but also have someone to talk to about their concerns, who is relatable and will actually understand and listen and voice this to the JCR and really make an active change. I think I'm someone relatable. I think I'm very easy to talk to about this, and I'm probably one of the only people in Durham who's going to talk about social class so openly and honestly. And I don't think there's a better fit than myself to offer support, advice, guidance on anything working class students are struggling with. And I've got to this point now where I'm secure enough in my own working class identity to be able to help other people when they're worried about their broken laptop or trying to find the money for 3 months rent over the summer when they're not here. And I think most of all, I really want to create a community within Mary's for working class students to be able to relate to each other's experiences and not feel isolated. And I'm going to do that by hosting socials and discussion groups and just start the conversation about the working class student experience. So I hope my passion for this role has come across as I had hoped. So if you want to see a change for working class students, then do vote. And thank you very much, Ben and Johnny, for organising all of this as well. Very much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chloe.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Chloe.
So what we're going to just do now is briefly put you back on mute and turn your video off, but we'll invite you back in a moment when it's time for the questions to all the candidates. So we'll see you in 1 moment. And now I'm going to try and get the video loaded up for Charlotte Bilton and Emily Wall, who have sent in a joint video host. And I believe they'll both be joining us after the questions as well.
I'm Charlotte.
So. Right, that's interesting. The screen sharing is not behaving, so we'll see why that is. There we go. Okay.
I'm Charlotte, a second-year law student from Leeds. Me and Emily are both from working-class backgrounds, and we both know what it feels like to come to university being scared of what people may think of you. I mean, listen to our accents. Me and Emily are both from very similar backgrounds, although regional differences have made our experience of being working class unique in their own ways. We founded our friendship due to our similarities. Being in Durham can sometimes make you feel isolated as a working class student, and sometimes just finding those people who have similar experiences as you can make or break your experience in feeling welcome at this university. Our first main priority, if we get this role, is Michaelmas term, as we feel individuals will feel most vulnerable during this period. So we will start with a campaign called Finding Your Feet, which will primarily be aimed at supporting freshers, as we both believe this transition is very difficult for them. We will commence this campaign with creating booklets aimed at supporting working class students, which will include a complete catalogue of job opportunities in and around Durham, testimonies from other working class students who have found their feet, how to fill out SAC forms, how to get academic and wellbeing support. We intend to collaborate with WAM on this, working alongside that housing campaign. We will hold several drop-ins during this period. We will also continue to do drop-ins across the year periodically, as grappling with your working class identity while at Durham does not disappear after Freshers Week. Also, to inspire people to meet others of a similar background, we will hold socials, helping them to fit in because, of course, you know what we're like.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a second-year history student from Wolverhampton, and both me and Charlotte are the first generation in our families to go to university. We are both more than aware that working-class students do not have the same luxuries and opportunities as others, and we are especially aware of this because we both were able to come to this university because of the Sutton Trust Summer School. We are both very aware of the financial and academic problems that working class students face, and as third years we believe that we have learnt enough from our experiences of being at Durham in order to share our advice with those around us. We both understand working life in Durham, we have experience with university mental health support and academic support structures, and as well we are wanting to learn more about funding opportunities in Durham. We intend to create a committee for the role since the two of us do not cover all the nuances of working class identity. We intend to work alongside other representatives including LGBT rep, the ethnic minorities rep and the disability rep. We'll work alongside a team in order to create a more positive working class community in Mary's, and we'll also work alongside DU associations and liaise with college in order to find out and create more opportunities for working class students in Durham and in Mary's.
To establish this role as the foundation for making Mary's a positive place for working class students, especially helping with open days and POVD. As a rep myself for the last 2 years, I've answered many questions on the suitability of this university and if I feel at home here. I would like to ensure that all individuals can feel at home at Mary's, just like me and Emily do.
Both me and Charlotte really love Mary's, and we want other people to love Mary's just as much as we do and have the opportunity to do so, which will help do through financial support, academic support and pastoral support. We're both really passionate about this role and we will dedicate ourselves wholeheartedly towards it. So thank you for listening.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Charlotte and Emily, for that. So now we're going to invite all the candidates back on to the call to answer any questions. We may have to bear with while we see whether any internet issues have come up, which we were warned about. So Chloe Sutton, I've asked you to start video. Charlotte, I've asked you to start video. And Emily, I've asked you to start video. And you're all welcome to unmute when you're ready. Okay, can we all see and hear each other?
Yeah. No.
Yep, Emily, we good?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So I'm just having to recalibrate and check whether we've had any questions come in. Okay, here we go. So for all the candidates, what do you think the biggest challenge for working class students is specifically, and how do you plan to tackle this? Jonathan, I don't know what order we're going in for answers.
We'll start with Chloe. Yeah.
Personally, probably the financial part of it. I feel as though the social part, although quite a big one, a lot of working class students can get over that. But in terms of, the financial part, so things, especially for accommodation, for example. So a big shock for freshers is knowing that they have to pay anywhere between like £300 to maybe £700 for a deposit. And that's a big massive chunk of money to be spending on a deposit, as well as things as like paying rent over the summer, which can be around like £1,500, even if you're not living there. So my idea is to kind of help students by researching kind of deposit schemes to help spread the cost. You now have the kind of no deposit schemes where you can pay a lot less than that or not pay a deposit at all. Help working class students find accommodation only having kind of 9 months tenancies rather than 12 months. Accommodation, a big one especially, as well as resources. So if your laptop breaks and you can't afford, £500 for a new one, all those kinds of things are probably the biggest problem for working class students, I'd say.
Okay, perfect. Charlotte and Emily, do you have any response to that question?
Yeah, personally, I've found that all three factors of financial, academic and social all kind of collaborate into one another, because as a working class student, you come to Durham and there is barely anyone there who has the same background as you, and it feels so isolating to be at Durham. Personally, academic was one of the most problematic things for me. I'd sit in seminars and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. All these people have been trained their entire lives to use a specific lingo and like understand all these complicated ideas that I just didn't understand at all. And personally, all that associated as well as like the financial problem of not being able to go out with my friends, not being able to enjoy the same things that everyone else is doing, had a massive impact on my mental health. So what would be really important to me is, as well as supporting students financially, is supporting students through mental health support and through doing drop-ins and stuff, just so we can discuss that, especially like in Michaelmas term. That's one of the hardest times as a fresher, I believe.
And I also agree with Emily. When we were talking about this, especially Michaelmas term, it's just a whole lot of sitting down and explaining to other people that you can't do what they're doing. Like me and Emily, when we sat down with our house and their budgets were a lot different to ours, and we had to sit down and be like, this is what we can do. This is how the deposit's going to work out. And that is obviously a barrier financially, but then it's also the social aspect where you have to sit down and tell these people who you've known a couple of weeks, and you don't know if they're going to judge you. You don't know how that's going to work out. And especially with being a law student, the cost of textbooks is insane. And a lot of the time, the library doesn't really work out. And I feel like genuinely just helping people understand how to talk to people and manage your budget is especially important.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlotte and Emily. Pass on to the next question if there are any, Ben.
So we've had a few questions come in, but I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind people watching that you're not supposed to ask a question to individual candidates. So there's not been ones that are targeted in any kind of malicious way, but we've had questions that have brought up something that one particular candidate has said and asked a further question on it. And unfortunately, we're not able to ask those questions. So if anyone does want to rephrase their questions to be generally applicable to the candidates, get those in as soon as you can now. Otherwise, that will be it. So we'll just give that a couple of moments.
Yeah, and Charlotte and Emily, will start with you answering first for this next one, if any do come in. Unfortunately,
because of the delay on the stream, we do have to just give it a moment. I'd also just like to say, while we're waiting for questions to come in, thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who continues to tune in. The numbers on this are actually great. We've had a really consistent number of people watching. I'm excited to see at the end we'll get the overall number of people that have tuned in. But we'll just wait for any more questions that do come in now. I think that actually may be it for these roles, for the questions. Okay, I think we're probably able to move on to the next round of hosts now.
All right, thank you very much, Chloe, Charlotte, and Emily.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, right.
All right, are we doing the next round of trivia, Ben?
Yes, we are doing the next round of trivia. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, the next round of trivia. So, which parliamentary constituency in County Durham was represented by a former Prime Minister until his resignation in 2007? Which parliamentary constituency in County Durham was represented by a former Prime Minister until his resignation in 2007? So answers in the Facebook comments, and we've had that already. I didn't make any specific comments on whether the people hosting can answer them, but because I didn't, I suppose that's absolutely fine. So Alex Moorhouse takes that one. Okay. Okay, well, we've had 3 answers from people who are hosting in
Wonderful.
the meeting. Okay, right, so we'll move on to the next round now. So
Wonderful.
that is Assistant Male WAM Officer, and that's Aydin hosting for that, and we've got a video host that's been sent in. So I'll just set that up now, and then shortly after, Aydin will be joining us to answer any questions. And just another reminder to people, because there's been some questions in the chat, you can send in questions via the Google form that we distributed, or ask them live in the Facebook comments. So I'll just play Aydin's host back now.
Hi, my name's Aydin. I'm a first-year law student, and I'm running to be your Assistant Male Welfare Officer this coming year. I believe in kindness above everything else. For a community to grow and stay strong, it requires us to be kind to ourselves, kind to others, and kind to our home and environment. I've been lucky to be part of the Mary's community this past year, witnessing the kindness of this community and its people, and especially the brilliant work that the WAM committee has done to make Mary's a more kind and welcoming place. After seeing all this, I've become inspired to join the WAM team and give back for all the kindness this college and the people in it have shown me. I believe I would be suitable for this role because I'm experienced in navigating college and university support systems, and because I'm organized. I originally joined Mary's the year before this year, but went home because of depression. I navigated the process of using various support systems in the university and obtained the necessary concessions needed. As such, I believe that I'm knowledgeable and experienced in these processes and can support those who are looking for support in any capacity, something that can be quite intimidating at first. This year, I was able to balance competitive cycling, involvement in societies, and studying for my law degree, and as a result, I believe I can effectively balance the responsibilities of this role with my other commitments. As your Assistant Male Welfare Officer, I'd like to focus on increasing male turnout and involvement in WAM and continue the great work that Kyle and James have done on this year. Something that shocked me was that on average 1 man dies every minute of every day from suicide around the world. However, there is still lots of stigma around male discussions on mental health. I'd like to tackle this by holding events during November to raise awareness about men's mental health and physical health issues, as well as work with other college societies to increase male turnout at WAM events. Furthermore, I'm keen to continue expanding the mental health campaign run by WAM with the goal of growing awareness for mental health issues and expanding this year's focus on drug and alcohol awareness. One thing I would especially like to do is expand this by creating discussions and resources regarding homesickness at university for home and international students, something I know I've faced and I'm sure many of us have as well. Moreover, I'd like to increase the number of and types of events and socials that occur throughout the year. This would include continuing with Wellness Wednesdays and running alcohol-free evening events, as well as coffee shop socials. I feel like this would be the time in my hust for a witty campaign slogan, but since there doesn't seem to be much that goes well with my name, I'll finish my hust by saying thank you to everyone in college for making Mary's such a safe and warm place filled with kindness. I hope I can help make Mary's an even more kind place than before and serve as part of your welfare team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sending that in, and we're
Wonderful.
now live to answer any questions, which again you can ask via the Google form or the Facebook comments. So Aydin, are you unmuted? I can see that you're unmuted. I'm going to ask you to
Yeah,
start.
I'm unmuted, but let's see.
Here we go.
Yes, hi.
Okay, hello Aydin. So right, I'm
Thank
just
you
going
for
to see if any
joining,
questions
Aydin.
start coming in. Thank you for joining. Yeah. Okay, here we go. So we've got a question. How would you help push welfare to be more collaborative with other reps and societies in college and in the wider university?
That's a brilliant question. I think the best way to push for that is just to have regular dialogue with different reps. I would be very keen to work with, I mean, obviously other members of the welfare team, but also the ethnic minorities rep, the working class rep, other reps in college, and I would be very keen to establish a connection within our team with the university level welfare reps, just so we can all work collaboratively.
Okay. Another question that's coming via the Google form. Oh, I've just tried to accidentally minimize the Zoom call. Hang on. Another question that's coming via the Google form. How do you feel that you could balance this role with other commitments that you may have?
Yeah, so I think I very much was, during this first year, I took on a bunch of different commitments, and at first I struggled with it, but I think during this year I've learned the necessary organization skills to be able to balance different things. So for my sport, I train 15 hours a week, and I've managed to balance that with some other society commitments and my studying. I think just based on that, I think I'd be able to effectively balance this role with other commitments that I'll have.
Okay, thank you. And I've got a couple more questions actually from the Google form. So one more saying, how would you build on Wellness Wednesdays, especially as they are virtual?
Ooh, that is a great question. I hadn't thought about that. I think having Zoom calls would be the first starting point, and they have different themes. We can have different themes about different ways to kind of pamper ourselves on Wednesdays and take a step back from all the stresses of COVID-19. One thing could be yoga sessions. I know I'd really like to start doing yoga, so that would be really cool. As well as ones that are themed, we can have ones that aren't, so we can have some time to have a call and talk about what's going on, maybe have a discussion together. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and we've got time for one more question.
Yeah, so that's one more from online. saying it's really important to acknowledge that men potentially don't get involved in WAM as much as they maybe should. Are there any specifics that you could provide for how you might go about increasing male involvement?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, a good way to do that is to get in touch with different societies and different sports clubs in college, or for example, game society, and try to kind of use through discussions with the exec in those societies, try to get more men involved in WAM and try to run joint events. So we can have things like pub quizzes, we can have like themed events with the goal of raising awareness and raising involvement from men in WAM, but also make it something that's fun and encourages people to want to get involved.
Okay, and I believe that's all the time that we have for questions there. Aydin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aydin.
Right. So we can move on now to the next election, which is for Assistant Female WAM Officer. And Sophie Tice has sent in a video host and then will be joining us for questions. So I'll just set that up now. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name's Sophie. I'm a first year history student and I am so excited to be running for the position of Assistant Female WAM Officer. I've decided to go with the traditional background of every single politician during the last couple of weeks with a bookshelf, so don't judge me too hard on my book choices. I want to go for this position because I think that WAM is such a crucial part of the Mary's identity. And aside from often just being really, really fun with the face masks and the self-care, I love the role that students have to play by supporting each other through the more difficult times, and being so proactive, increasing connectiveness and friendship across our community. As part of the WAM General Committee, I've helped with slide making and sharing, social media and events for 2 wonderful WAM campaigns this year. And I really want the opportunity to do more as Assistant Female WAM Officer. So what is it that I want to do? Firstly, I think it's become especially clear in the last couple of weeks in the wake of George Floyd's death and the Black Lives Matter protests that we have a huge problem with racism, and that we need more specific and stronger action to combat it, including at Durham and including in Mary's. So I think a big and direct WAM campaign next year to address racial inequality and discrimination would be a great step as part of a wider set of actions to help with this. Especially as I'm obviously a white person, this campaign would include all WAM reps in collaboration with our ethnic minorities rep, and hopefully a diverse pool of other individuals and groups who would want to get involved. Secondly, obviously we're all aware of the potential impact of coronavirus upon our next year of university, and I'm very keen to adjust the traditional WAM activities that we all know and love to a potentially virtual and socially distanced future, as well as creating opportunities for healing after the sadly often detrimental effects of lockdown on our mental health. For example, I want to set up purposeful and semi-anonymous discussion groups for people to talk about their lockdown experiences in a safe space. I want to set up more virtual events to keep us separate but together, such as virtual movie nights, and more outside events, such as walks and picnics, where the risk of transmission is reduced, though given Durham weather, we'll probably need a lot of spare hats. Lol. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sophie, for sending that in, and we'll now try and get you up on live video for answering questions. So, Sophie Tice, you've unmuted. Hello. Can you possibly turn your video on as well for us?
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Everyone.
Okay, we can see you there. So, as a reminder to everyone, questions can be asked via the Facebook live stream chat or the Google form that was sent out earlier. And I suppose actually we can start with a question that was asked possibly for all the assistant WAM roles, which is how do you build on Wellness Wednesdays as they are virtual?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think what Aydin said was also fab. I think it's become really clear during lockdown that although it's not exactly the same, that so many things that can be done in person can also be done over Zoom and online. And I really think a lot of innovation has come from this, such as the Joe Wicks PE classes to the cooking classes. And so I think online will be a big thing, as well as with, like, if the weather allows, doing a lot more like outdoor activities. I'm a big believer in the power of the outdoors, and I know like not everyone is, but I think some picnics, some walks would be a great way of kind of picking up everyone's day.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we've got any more questions just yet, but we will give it a little bit of time to see if anyone else has other ones to send in. I hope, sorry, Sophie, just as I've seen you've asked another question, but I kind of retreaded your previous one. I hope that covered what you were asking with the second question. And we've had another one sent in now. Which campaign or project from this year would you like to expand on? Or what campaign would you like to start for the next year?
Ooh, okay, that's a really good question. I loved the campaign, I can't remember its exact name, but kind of about body positivity and body image, which was around the first term. Because something I've struggled with has been kind of body image massively and eating disorders. And I'd love to build on that more specifically, because I think when you've kind of experienced something like that, you kind of research it a lot, and you get a lot more sensitive to the symptoms of it and kind of signs of it, essentially. And obviously because most of us eat within college all of our meals, and you get to know people really closely, I've noticed quite a few signs of kind of unhealthy relationships with food and with people's bodies, which I think many of us have. And I think increasing awareness of the many different types of eating disorders, aside from the ones that kind of people think that they know, would be a really great way to make sure we're all happier and healthier people.
Great, thank you. And just give it a little bit more time to see if we've got any more questions sent in. Currently, that's all that we've got.
We'll still have a bit of time for questioning left, so if anyone's sending in.
Yeah.
If not,
I think that is probably all for now. Great, thank you very much then, Sophie, for joining us.
No worries.
We can move on now to the next host.
thank you, Sophie.
Thank you. Okay. Right, so the next host is for Communities Officer, and we have two people running for this role. So first will be the host of Sophie Paxton, which has been sent in as a video, and I'll just get that loaded up. Okay.
Hey, I'm Sophie, and I'd love to be Mary's Communities Officer. I volunteered at Durham and at home and found volunteering to be a really enriching thing. I've learned so much, I've met new people, and I really want to make sure that everyone has access to this valuable experience. Mary students have so much creativity and so much talent, and I want to make sure we harness this talent to make an impact on the local community. At Durham, I volunteered at a local care home and as a French tutor, both through DUSVO. This means I have an understanding of how DUSVO works, I'm aware of volunteering protocol, and I'm aware of the sensitivities that come with working with vulnerable people, something that volunteering often entails. So what are my ideas? Number one, I want to make sure that all Mary students know about the great volunteering opportunities available. People often think that if they didn't sign up at the Freshers' Fair, then they can't volunteer, and that's just not the case. I want to set up a Mary's volunteering Facebook page that I'll regularly advertise volunteering opportunities, as well as using the Freshers page and the JCR President's weekly reports. I want people to know that volunteering doesn't always require a long-term commitment, as Dusfo and Mary's organise one-off events that people can get involved with. Also, I want to be an approachable person and a friendly person that people know that they can just message about volunteering opportunities. So number 2, I want to increase the college presence of the community committee so that it's noticeable and everyone knows that it's there. It's a committee that anyone can come to at any time with a creative idea, or even if it's not creative, just an idea about a community project that we can use. By developing a strong committee, we can effectively and creatively deliver and organise community events. Perhaps we can even have socials for members of the committee to develop the community spirit, or the team spirit, more like the word communities in my head. Thirdly, I want to collaborate with other societies in college to arrange one-off events. This means we can have more dynamic community events, but also increase across college participation. And number 4, I want to use Mary's as a venue to host talks about issues affecting the North East. I think it's so easy to live in Durham, live in the Durham bubble, be totally unaware even of the fact that we're in the North East. I totally speak from experience here, and that's totally what I do. So yeah, I think hosting talks about issues that affect the North East could really help us to connect to the area and understand the issues that the area we're living in faces. Finally, in light of the pandemic, that I think there's going to be a much greater need for volunteers than ever, and I want to make sure that as Mary students, we're going to be there to help, and we know how we can help. Thank you. If you liked what you hear, please vote for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Sophie. And you'll be invited on to the call to answer questions shortly. But first, we've got Alex Moorhouse hosting for Communities Officer, I believe, live on the Zoom call. So Alex, if you're here, I'm going to ask you to unmute and to turn video on, and we'll see whether that works. Okay. Hello, Alex. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yeah. Have I appeared?
Yeah, we can hear you. All good. Whenever you're ready.
Good stuff. Okay. So hello, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm a first-year physics student. I'd really appreciate the opportunity to be your communities officer next year. So in terms of my involvement this year with volunteering, I've been a project leader with DUSBO. I've just recently re-interviewed for that, so I'm going to be continuing with that next year. So I do have kind of experience with the specific volunteering system here in Durham. I've also got a strong working relationship with Emily Kitching, the volunteering coordinator. So I think that means I've already got a good grip of how things work, and also sort of used to the communication involved in coordinating different volunteering events. I've also kind of volunteered outside of university. So I worked with CAFWAD for a bit. Last summer, I also volunteered in the cancer research store in Sunderland. So that's given me a bit of experience of kind of general volunteering as well. In terms of some of my ideas for the role, I think that the volunteering system we've got here in Durham is kind of something that's really special, but I don't think we shout about it enough. So I'd like to really push that a bit more. I only really got involved in it by chance, to be honest. I just happened to hear about some of the interviews that were going for project leader positions. I didn't really see it anywhere else on Facebook or anything like that. So I'd really like to try and connect more people in college to those opportunities. But I also think generally, not just kind of volunteering, but lots of different opportunities that are available around university can be quite hard to keep a track of. So you get Facebook events, you get Facebook posts, you get emails, you get kind of physical media as well, posters and that sort of thing. So sometimes it feels a little bit all over the place in terms of the organisation of those events. So I'd like to kind of have a centralised way of keeping track of that. First of all, by having some sort of volunteering bulletin. So that might be in the form of Facebook posts in the existing Mary's group chat, a dedicated Facebook page, possibly presence on different platforms as well. But I'd also be interested in developing a kind of online opportunities finder. So I've got a bit of experience. I've built a couple of websites now. I'd quite like to build a kind of interactive opportunities tracker where you can kind of find opportunities, not just volunteering, as I said, but loads of different opportunities in societies and things like that. And even, you know, not necessarily connected with the university, but just in the wider area. And you could sort of filter those opportunities by things like your availability, when you want to get involved, areas of interest as well. So I feel like that would be quite useful. I also think that in terms of pushing, to be able to push sort of wider university involvement in volunteering, we need sort of strong, I guess what you say, sort of grassroots volunteering in colleges. So I'd like to sort of develop that so that there's a platform where people can kind of get involved in college, and that maybe leads on to things around the university as well. And I think a good way to go about trying to achieve that would be working with the societies we've got in college, not only to strengthen their membership and improve engagement in that regard, but also just to try and get more people involved in volunteering and create sort of more creative opportunities to volunteer as well. And then finally, I'd also like to improve the visibility of the volunteering committee. So I haven't personally heard much about the volunteering committee this year. I'd like to make sure that's sort of more open, so that just as volunteering kind of in DUSVO is very strongly student-led, it's also strongly student-led in college, and everyone kind of knows where to go if they want to get involved or sort of start up an idea there as well. So those are sort of my main ideas. I think an important part of any role on the JCR is communication. You know, you at the end of the day, although you're sort of implementing ideas of your own, it's very much about being a kind of communication sort of post so that people can feed their ideas through. So I'd have a very strong emphasis on that communication with individuals and, as I said, societies as well. So I'd be very grateful for your support, and thank you very much for listening to me this afternoon.
Great, thank you very much, Alex, for that host. So we're now going to invite Sophie Paxton live onto the call. I can see she's just unmuted there. So I'm also going to invite you to start your video, and then we should have both candidates ready to answer any questions. Hello.
Sophie.
Any questions that come in. So either on Facebook or the Google form, you're able to ask them. And we'll just give that a moment to come through. We don't have any to start with just yet.
Yeah. And any questions that do come in, we'll start, Sophie, with you answering first then.
Okay, and we will just have to wait a couple of moments to see if we get anything. We've not had anything yet. I do just want to give it just a moment more. And I am sorry that these awkward silences do come up as a result of the delay on Facebook.
Just to fill the silence, I think, Ben, after this, we're going to do the next trivia round. Is that right?
We are going to do the next trivia round.
Yeah.
There's two more. I should say congratulations to Alex for simultaneously hosting and netting one of the prizes.
Sorry, I'm not sure whether that was allowed. Sorry, folks.
I didn't say it wasn't, so that means it has to be. We actually had a spectacular number of candidates in the election trying to angle for the prizes in the comments, so that is my fault for not saying anything about it. Okay, I think we've had a question that's tried to be sent in that didn't quite get sent in because the person's put their first name in the your name box and their surname in the question box. So we'll just give that another moment. And in the meantime, we've had a question saying, hey, could you tell us about your organizational skills and how you would balance this role with your studies? So that's Sophie first answering.
Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of things this year, and I feel like I've been able to manage it fairly well. So I feel like this year's given me like a good head start to take on more things next year. Also, I do like a fairly low contact hour degree, so I'm pretty flexible. I feel like I've got enough time on my hands to make way for this role. I'm also a carer at home, and I've managed to balance that with online exams. So yeah, I feel like those things have prepared me to be able to take on a role in the JCR, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Alex now?
So yeah, kind of in a similar vein, I've had a decent amount of experience with sort of juggling different commitments this year, but also just sort of before university. As I said, I've been a project leader this year, so that means I've had to sort of organise a project at the same time as doing all the stuff that comes as part of a degree. So I've got experience there, but I've also had a couple of other sort of leadership positions in the past at college. So I've led various societies at college and been involved in positions like that. Yeah, so I feel like kind of in terms of timekeeping, I've sort of got a good amount of experience, quite a lot of practice at kind of keeping organised. And then in terms of kind of more general organisational skills, things like communication, again, sort of the project leadership side. I've also been involved in sort of tutoring during the whole COVID-19 situation. So I feel like I've got pretty strong communication skills there as well.
Okay, thank you both. And we've got another question that's come in. So this is a question from Naomi asking, how do you keep up community engagement in an online situation?
Yeah, starting with Alex now.
Okay. So I think we've kind of already got a brilliant example here, just in terms of the JCR meeting. Zoom and Teams are obviously incredibly useful in terms of organising various sort of events. So I think getting involved in communicating with sort of different societies and trying to get them to organise combined Zoom events. Obviously, it is tricky kind of in terms of actually doing any sort of volunteering, because a lot of it does involve kind of physical presence. You can have tutoring is particularly easy to organise online. And I think a lot of people are going to sort of need that, as we've already seen. You know, students across the UK have missed out on weeks of education already. So I think that's something that we can kind of help with to a really sort of useful degree, particularly because everyone here is obviously good at this subject. So there's a really strong academic base that can help support people. And then obviously kind of communication, we can sort of start to get Facebook groups, the opportunities finder that I mentioned, we can start to get those all online over the summer. And there are also, you know, there are quite a few events being organised by DUSBO, even if it's just training to get ready for volunteering when we can finally get back to it. They're all going up at the moment. Next week, there's sort of the initial induction sessions. So they're also things that we can kind of promote just online through Facebook, email, that sort of thing as well.
Okay, thank you both very much. And we've not had any more questions, so I believe that's...
Then we need to pass on to Sophie.
I'm very sorry,
it's
Sophie.
Okay, don't worry.
No, that's totally my fault. I lost track of time. Very sorry. Go ahead.
No, don't worry. Yeah, I just echo what Alex said. Definitely make use of Zoom, social media for group chats, really to like emphasize communication and keep ourselves connected. Like I said, DUSBO is really great with online stuff. So many training programs. They have so many online things which are going on at the moment. They've helped me to show where I can actually help with my community at home. So that would be really great, using them to show how people can help when they're at home and find volunteering opportunities actually in their community. Yeah, like Alex said, education is a huge one. People have lost so much time, and tutoring is such a good way to do that. And DUSBO offers online tutoring that we can really help promote. Also, with applying to university, we can act as help with personal statements, potentially with interviews. So I think that's another way we can help in terms of education. Phone call befrienders, that's something which we're really in need of at the moment. And DUSBO also has an outlet for people to get involved with that. So promoting that as a thing which we can do at home, or do in sort of like remote situation. And like I said about talks, hosting talks from members of the community, that's definitely something that could be moved online. So yeah, that would be what I would say.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And again, very sorry about that. Okay, I think that's all we have time for in terms of the questions for these two candidates. So thank you both again very much. Yep. And we can now move on to the next host, which is the LGBT plus representative, and Alicia Bickerstaff, who has sent in a video host, which I'll just get loaded up. Okay, but before I do that, actually, I should say we've got another trivia question.
I was going to remind you,
yeah. So we've got 2 more, including this one. And again, this is your chance to win £5 in vouchers. So the question is, and again, first answer gets the prize. The question is, what is the occupation of the current Chancellor of the university, other than being the Chancellor of the university? That is, what is the occupation of the current Chancellor of the university? And there'll be some discretion as to what answers I accept in terms of how it's phrased. And we'll just give those a couple of seconds to start coming in, and then we will play Alicia Bickerstaff's Hust. And then I believe Alicia will be joining us on the stream as well. Okay, I will take that answer from Don Wood, so that has been answered there. Singer, yeah, opera singer. Sorry, Don Wood's got that. Okay, and now on with our next Hust, Alicia Bickerstaff, the LGBT+ representative.
Hi, my name is Alicia Bickerstaff and I am a first year here at Mary's. I'm running to be LGBT rep because this association has been an integral part of my time here so far at Mary's and somewhere that I've found lasting friendships. And so I want to make sure that that environment, that warm and welcoming environment, persists for especially freshers next year. So primarily I see this as a welfare role, because being LGBT at uni can present a unique set of challenges, so it's important, I think, to know that there's someone you can talk to if any kind of problems arise, or just want a friendly chat. So I'd want to host JCR drop-ins, and also I think making myself available online, because that can be especially important to return to live without, because you might not want to come all the way into college just for a chat. I also think that education is a very important part of this role because homophobia is still a persistent problem, and so I'd be interested in hosting discussion panels, so we can create a space where people feel able to come and ask questions and learn about topics they may not have even heard about before. So perhaps hosting one on the intersection between religion and LGBT identity, which is something we tried to do this year, and maybe other issues like trans rights or something like that, which people may not know so much about. I think that could be a good way to kind of engage people in new sort of identities and new ideas that they hadn't perhaps thought of. And then kind of the final part, I think, of this role is event organisation, because we like celebrating being LGBT and it's pretty fun. So I think from my experience across organising various events in associations this year, so like working on the Revival fashion show, obviously publicity and communications for the LGBT Association, where we put on events like the annual pub quiz, the LGBT fashion show as well. I've learned, so working on those events, I've really learned how to kind of work in a team, manage tensions that might arise, so that we can really put on the most smooth running and like entertaining event possible. So I have various ideas that I've gone from talking to other people, so shout out to my social sex, to our social sex for coming up with the idea of drag race viewing parties, which I think could be a really fun way to engage people who aren't necessarily in the community, but because drag race is so big and it's fun, and like it's very important to watch documentaries and be educated on these ideas, but also sometimes you need to blow off some steam and just watch something fun. I also would like to host an intercollegiate LGBT formal, because I think that could be quite a nice way to kind of make links with other colleges and create like a fun LGBT space in college, especially when we don't know what we're going on with clubbing next year. So those are sort of my main ideas, and if you like what you've heard, please vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alicia, for sending that in, and we'll now try to get you live on the Zoom call. So everyone get their questions sent in now. And Alicia, are you with us on the call here? There we go, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Okay. Yeah, let me...
You can turn your video on there.
Cool.
Right, and I'll just get the...
Oh, amazing.
There we go, hi. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll just give it a minute or so for people to send any questions through, and I will just check the Google form to see if we've had any sent in advance. Okay, I'm going to actually split this into 2 questions. This has been sent in. So firstly, what ideas do you have for the Mary's LGBT+ society? For if people don't know, you would then be the de facto head of the society. What ideas do you have for it that are different from previous years?
So I'd quite like to introduce intercollegiate LGBT formal, which is what I talked about in my Hust. Because I think that would be quite a good way to bring together different communities, and especially in a lot of other colleges, they don't necessarily have as much of a thriving community as we have here. And I think also it'd be quite nice to kind of create that like LGBT space. Also drag race viewing parties. That's actually, shout out to my social sec for that one, because I think that would be quite a nice way to bring people together who aren't necessarily part of the community, because drag race is like very big, obviously kind of within the UK, and I think it's kind of like quite a nice like fun idea to do, because documentaries are very important, and it's obviously very important to have that educational side of things, but it's also kind of nice to blow some steam and do something like quite fun once in a while. So those are kind of like my main ideas, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And another question, do you have any ideas for combating things such as biphobia, both in Mary's and the society?
Yeah, I mean, I have personally experienced biphobia. So I think, kind of like I talk about again in my host, education is such an important tool of that. And so I think running, what we did a lot this year was running various events outside the dining hall, which can be quite a nice way to engage with people. So perhaps putting some resources together on that, because sometimes people just don't understand kind of with biphobia, a lot of it is to do with stereotypes. So perhaps doing something surrounding that and kind of addressing these stereotypes. Also, I think discussion groups would be really good. So we were trying to put one together this year on religion. So perhaps we could do one on bi issues, which again, I would be very interested in taking part in, because obviously I have quite a personal connection to that. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers that question.
Great, thank you. And I'd just like to apologise to anyone if we don't get to their questions. We've had quite a few for this role, and we do have a time limit, but I'll move on swiftly. What ideas do you have for the society if next term is moved online?
So obviously it will be quite difficult for us, but I think during this lockdown period, I know we've been working to try and produce like online resources, kind of connecting people with different groups that could be helpful. I'd quite like the idea of introducing like an intercollegiate buddy system, because often people like LGBT college parents won't kind of take that LGBT factor into account. So perhaps we could start kind of like some sort of Zoom kind of buddy system, and that would help also connect like the different years, because for me that's been a really important part of being part of the LGBT community, is kind of getting to know people in other years. So I hope that could be something we could bring in. And I think Zoom will probably be a big part of that. And I think also through like my graphic design experience and stuff like that, hopefully I'll be able to use that to create kind of some like exciting, kind of maybe more artistic and creative stuff online that would be a bit more interesting and engaging for people. So yeah.
Thank you. Jonathan, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, we've got time for one more quick question if there is.
Okay, brilliant. Then we'll have got to them all then. So do you have any ideas to help non-LGBTQ+ people support the community as much as possible?
Yeah. So again, this is kind of what I talked about in my manifesto, I think, with the kind of like education part of it. I think because LGBT rights are still under attack, as we've seen with like the Gender Recognition Act reforms. So I think making sure that people are aware of the kind of issues that are going on, because if you're not engaged in the community, it's quite easy for these to like slip under people's radars. So I think, posting online and making sure people kind of know what's going on is a great way to kind of make sure that people feel engaged with the community, even if they aren't necessarily like a part of it. And also kind of making sure that there are those resources in college for people to kind of understand sort of like current affairs issues within the LGBT community would be a good way to sort of help build that connection, I hope. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Alicia. And I think that's all the questions and all the time we have for questions in any case.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks again for joining us. And we are now going to move on. Thank you to our final role of the day. So everyone do stay tuned. This is the tail end of the meeting effectively. Thank you very much for staying tuned as long as everyone has. So this is for Assistant WAM Officer, and we have Amy Harris, who sent in a video host, which I will now play back. Let's get the screen sharing going on this. Okay.
Hi guys, my name's Amy and I would love to be one of your assistant welfare officers next year. I've been involved with WAM since I started at Durham, even remotely on my year abroad this year, and I am so passionate about everything it does. I recognise the importance of student-led welfare, and I think that is what makes Mary's and Durham so special. It's been an honour the last 3 years to watch WAM grow and progress and just get better year on year, and I would love to be a part of the core exec and maintain this progression. I outlined a few things in my blog sheet that I would just like to go into in a bit more detail. I think it's super important, especially in these turbulent times, that WAM maintains its presence for all students, even if it has to be remotely. Particularly for those incoming freshers that are starting uni in quite unique circumstances, I think it's important they know who WAM are and that they feel comfortable coming to WAM should they have any concerns, anything at all. I also want to talk about accessibility. It's been fantastic the last year to see the introduction of Skype drop-ins and everything, and I think that's been really crucial for those on year abroad and not in Durham for whatever reason. But I would like to see the introduction of perhaps phone call drop-ins. I think sometimes people can maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable about having face-to-face contact, and I think a phone call drop-in could be really good for those people and make them feel like they can access WAM, even if they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Also, out-of-hours drop-ins, I recognise that a lot of people have quite heavy schedules in uni and often can be doing 9 till 5 every day. And when drop-ins always fall within those times, it can be difficult to access welfare. So I think maybe 1 or 2 out-of-hours drop-ins a week could be really, really good for those kind of students. Further, I would like to see an increase in committee meetings. But not only that, I want to get the committee more involved, perhaps appointing campaigns, managers, leaders. This would not only take a little bit of pressure off the core exec, but would just allow for more campaigns to be delivered within college, even if they're on a smaller scale, but also make the committee feel involved and actively involved in welfare, not just maybe doing a Facebook post and a campaign. They can perhaps be organising smaller scale campaigns. Further, I think it's really important that we start coordinating with other colleges' welfare teams to gain and share ideas, but also have bigger full-scale campaigns. The Take Time to Sign campaign this year was really fantastic, and I think we can learn from that and build on it. Further, I would like to introduce a WAM feedback form so people feel comfortable just giving feedback on the WAM services and maybe any suggestions so we can continue to grow and not become stagnant. Thank you for listening to me, and if anybody has any questions or anything, just let me know. It'd be lovely to be your welfare officer next year.
Thank you very much for that, Amy. And now we're going to, pardon me, try and get you live on here to answer any questions. A reminder to everyone that they can send them in now. So, Amy Harris, are you with us on the call?
I think so.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. I'm just going to request you to turn your video on if that's okay. And then we should be ready to go. Yeah, brilliant. We can see you. Hello, hello. Right. So yeah, any questions that people want to send in, feel free. So we've got a question from the Facebook live stream from Ben Sharp. What campaign would you be looking to continue with next year?
So as I mentioned in my host, I think I would like to continue with the Take Time to Sign campaign. And I think that's particularly important this year, given that the freshers are probably going to have a bit of an unusual freshers experience. And I think it is important that people are getting to know who they're signing a house with before they sign the house, really. But also the mental health campaign would be really good to continue with as well, just because we're coming out of lockdown. And I think, as Sophie mentioned earlier, there is going to be new issues that are arising this coming academic year just due to the situation, really, and we need to keep on it.
Thank you very much. Just see if we've got any more questions that have come in. Here we go. How would you help push welfare to be more collaborative with other reps and societies in college and in the wider university?
So I think uni-wide, it would be really good to collaborate with other welfare committees from other colleges just to make bigger campaigns. And I do think we saw a bit of that this year with the Take Time to Sign and things like that. But in terms of societies within Mary's, obviously we've seen a bit this year with the rugby lads doing Movember and things like that. And I think it would be really good to continue with those kind of things and encourage club captains and things to get involved with campaigns and maybe have more of a WAM presence within Mary's sport.
Okay, thank you. And another question, do you have any ideas of how to further welfare provisions for Mary's students if college is still online in the new year?
So obviously we don't really know what's going to go on like next academic year, and it is quite stressful. And I just think like it is like we have seen WAM go online a bit this year with Skype drop-ins and things like that. So it would be good to continue with that. And if we are going to be online for like a longer period of time, I think we should look at maybe like doing campaigns virtually and like see how we can manage that and just kind of encourage involvement, even if it does have to be online.
Thank you very much. Johnny, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, we've got time for one more question.
Okay, linked to that, but I suppose a kind of follow-up question to that. In terms of running online drop-ins, if they have to be done remotely at the start of next year, how do you ensure that incoming freshers who you may not have met before feel comfortable to get in touch?
I think it would be good maybe to send out a bit of a pack to like the freshers this year, like a welfare pack, like outlining who we are and maintaining like contact with them from the off, so that even if they've not met us like personally, they do feel comfortable and they do know who we are and how they can reach us and things like that.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think we've had any more questions online just yet, so I think that is probably it for the questions. Thank you very much for joining us, Amy.
Thank you very much, Amy.
Okay, and now people don't tune out the stream just yet, because there is one more chance to win a £5 voucher. But just briefly before that, Jonathan, have you got any other business?
No other business. Just in terms of just general procedure, voting will be open. It's scheduled to be open at 6 p.m. this evening. We'll post up a link again on the Facebook page that we sent out via email. And we'll be open for the standard 96-hour period, so it will shut on Sunday evening. Please do vote. Obviously, all of these candidates have worked really hard and done amazingly well to be here hosting for you. And we obviously do need a minimum quorum to be reached for any of them to be elected, regardless of the different candidates running. So please do vote when we send out that. And lastly, just while we're on the discussion of WAM, I just wanted to give a shout out to the WAM officers, Naomi, Kyle, Sophie and Grace. They have had to be working sort of overtime. Obviously this meeting is something that would have happened at the start of the term, and there would have been a lot more handover and a lot more collaboration with whoever's been coming into the role. So thank you to Naomi, Kyle, Grace and Sophie for all the work you've been doing with WAM throughout the lockdown, if you're watching.
I'd like to echo that, say thank you to everyone who's volunteered to run for roles in this meeting, everyone who's hosted as well, and of course everyone who's tuned in. The numbers on this have been amazing, especially considering it's my responsibility normally to run the streams of meetings when we're at college, and they're not normally this good, so this is a real privilege. And also something that I've been messaged with that I think is well within our remit to say, as well as asking you to vote in the JCR election and get your friends to vote and all that kind of stuff. I believe the Toasty Bar is also running the grand final of their best toasty poll on their Instagram, so if you could go and do that as well. Naomi says, and James, in terms of WAM officers.
And James, yeah, of course.
As well. And I believe that is pretty much everything. So it just leaves us to ask the final trivia question, which is, which singer, known for his mellow love songs and certified platinum 2007 album Call Me Irresponsible, was due to play an outdoor gig in Durham until it was sadly cancelled due to COVID-19? Which singer, known for his mellow love songs and certified platinum 2007 album Call Me Irresponsible, was due to play an outdoor gig in Durham? And Karina Font has won that with the answer Michael Bublé. So I think that's pretty much it for the meeting. I don't know if you've got anything else to add there.
So I left my gavel in Durham and I still haven't been able to go up to take it. So I said I'd use a substitute, which is this mini Irish harp that I got in Dublin a few years ago. So we'll just, on that, I guess, end the meeting.
Right. Thank you very much again, everyone, for tuning in.